What's going on, guys? Jake Peffer here with Jake's Cinema Room. I am back today with another movie review for you guys. Today I'm going to be looking at the latest Disney live-action remake, Pinocchio. And I hate to say it, but this joins a long list of Disney live-action remakes that are just unnecessary and not very good. And it's a shame because, a lot of people like myself grew up with a lot of these animated movies. I mean, the Pinocchio animated movies from the 40s, so everybody's grown up with it. But nonetheless, it's been this trend with Disney for the last, 10, 15 years where they're going back and remaking all their old animated classics. And it's not to say that they can't do that and do it well. The problem is they tend to do it and make it a shot-for-shot remake of the animated movie to the point where it's like, why is this even necessary other than the fact you're trying to rebrand this thing, put it out there for everyone to go see, and, just make a whole bunch of money off of it because it's an established brand that you already know and everyone already knows, and they're going to go out and watch it or stream it or see it in the theater and what have you. And yeah, it's just getting tiresome at this point. I mean, up to this point, now granted, I haven't seen every single live action remake. I haven't seen the Cinderella or the Mulan or the Lady and the Tramp, but for the most part, I think I've seen pretty much all the other ones. And realistically, the only one that even is good, in my opinion, and the only one I would say actually is better than the original cartoon is The Jungle Book. I think The Jungle Book is the only one of these live action remakes that, just does what it was supposed to do. It takes an established property, it hits all the beats that it needs to from the original, but it adds just enough to make it different and improve upon the old one and make it better. The problem with Pinocchio is, like I said, it's more or less a shot-for-shot remake. It does add some things and do a few things differently. However, the things that it adds and does differently doesn't really add anything to it. All those things just aren't executed very well. And in the end, they just come off, rather lazy. And that's how I feel a lot of these movies are. And honestly, Pinocchio might be one of the laziest of the bunch because it's not really doing anything different. And if you're going to remake one of these movies, why do it if you're not going to make it different enough? And that just seems to be the problem all around. It's not without saying that this does have a few flourishes and a few things that do, that I could say that they do well. Tom Hanks is Geppetto. He's perfectly fine. He's doing a good job. I mean, it's Tom Hanks. When's the last time he really gave a bad performance? I can't think of one. And, some of the other cast is doing good here. Actually, surprisingly enough, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who plays Jiminy Cricket in this, who is almost unrecognizable with his voice. Like, you wouldn't know it was him till you look it up. I think he steals the show, which, I mean, in the original cartoon, Jiminy Cricket's kind of the best part anyway. But here, him lending his voice and doing a really good job, like I said, I think he's the best part of the movie. The Blue Fairy in this one is played by Cynthia Erivo, who's a great actress, but she's kind of underused. They don't really use that character like they do in the original. She pretty much only comes in at the beginning to turn Pinocchio into a, not a real boy, but, where he becomes real enough where he's talking and moving around on his own and everything. She's really only in that scene. In the original, she comes back at least once more, if not twice, if I'm not mistaken. And in this, they kind of just drop her and don't do anything else with her. And that was a little disappointing. Outside of that, I mean, Keegan-Michael Key voices the fox in the movie. He's kind of underused. Luke Evans pops up toward the end, and he isn't really given much to do either. So, I mean, like, the casting here is fine. The boy whose name I didn't look up that voices Pinocchio, he does a good job, but it just seems like they took him and basically made him do everything exactly the way the original Pinocchio was done. Like, you wouldn't be able to distinguish a difference between his Pinocchio versus the original. So, not to say that he does a bad job, It feels exactly the same, which again, to my point, why do it if you're just going to make it exactly the same? This is a pretty big effects-driven movie, and I think that's one of the biggest reasons they do a lot of these remakes is so they can take those original movies and then turn them into these big spectacles. And, you know, there's some effects here that work okay. Jiminy Cricket, I think, looks good. But that's about it on the animals. A lot of the other animals just don't look all that good. For instance, like Geppetto has the cat Figaro, and that cat looks atrocious. I mean, it looks like the cat from those Smurfs live action movies, which also looks atrocious. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's just like, it's very hit or miss on a lot of the CG. Pinocchio himself looks, you know, pretty decent for the most part. His design is an exact copy of the original. So, I mean, at least there it looks okay. But it's just, you know, again, why make this remake? It's supposedly live action, you know, quote unquote, but more than half the movie is computer animated. It makes absolutely no sense. That's how I felt about that Lion King movie. You know, like, it's live action, but everything is made on computers. So what exactly is live in it? And, you know, this obviously has real sets and real people in it for the most part. But like I said, more than half of it is all CGI. So I don't really get the point in even doing it when it's just going to be animated for the most part anyway. But I digress. I mean, this, you know, if you're a fan of the original Pinocchio, this is going to be very underwhelming for you. There's just not enough here to really make it different enough. You know, they do, like I said, they do add a few things here and there to try to do some things differently, and they add in a couple new songs, and they change a few things from the original, but none of it is for the better. None of it improves upon what was so good about that original Pinocchio. I mean, that original Pinocchio is one of the greatest animated movies of all time. It's also one of the very first animated movies of all time, and it does things so well. And here, you know, you're basically just doing a copy and paste on a lot of it. And then, like I said, the things you're adding in new just aren't executed well enough to make an improvement. And it's a shame, you know, like I said, these movies, I guess people keep watching them and they keep making money, so they're going to keep doing them. But at some point, there's got to be a point where Disney looks at themselves and says, hey, you know, do we really need to keep remaking all these movies and not really improving upon them? And hopefully it gets to that point, or maybe they get to a point where they actually start remaking these and they make them better, like the Jungle Book, or even that Aladdin remake. You know, while Aladdin is my favorite animated Disney movie, and I don't think that live action movie, you know, improves upon it necessarily, but it did some things I didn't expect that I did think worked well. And even though I wouldn't consider it all that good, it's one of the better live action remakes. And I wish Pinocchio would have taken some more chances like that and just made things better and improved upon itself. Overall, I would give this Pinocchio a 4 out of 10. It's, you know, it's got some things here and there for the kids that are probably going to enjoy it. If they've never seen that original cartoon, you know, they'll probably enjoy this. If you've never seen the original cartoon, you might, you know, get something out of this. But anybody that's a big fan of that original cartoon or has seen it, you're going to be, you know, slightly disappointed with this movie, because it's laziness at its finest. There's just not a whole lot here. And with a director like Robert Zemeckis, who has made really good movies in the past, he made my all-time favorite movie in Back to the Future. You know, his last 10, 15 years of movie making just hasn't been up to par. And I hate seeing him in a movie like this, because it feels like they just picked a director. He said, yeah, sure, I'm not doing much, I'll take it on. And it just felt like there's no passion behind the project. And that's unfortunate, because Pinocchio is a good enough story where you could make a new one and make it good and worthwhile. And they just dropped the ball here. If you have seen this new Pinocchio, please let me know what you thought about it in the comments. Be sure to subscribe for more movie reviews in the near future, and I'll leave all my links down below so you can follow me on all my other sites. And until next time, guys, I'll catch you all later. guys.